We call to order the Security Committee meeting. It is 9:36. First of all, I'd like to give the land acknowledgement. Before beginning, we take a moment to recognize that here in Nevada, we stand on the land of the Washu, Numu, Northern Paiute, Niue, Western Shoshone, and Nuwu, Southern Paiute. We take a moment to recognize and honor their stewardship that continues into today. With this recognition, we state an intention to rightfully include their voice and respect them as the 27 sovereign tribal nations of Nevada. We will move on to item number 1, which is public comment. Do
Chair
we have
McMichael?
any public comment? Yes?
May I take the roll call?
I'm sorry. Go right in.
Chair McMichael?
Here.
Vice Chair Boylan? Regent Brooks? Regent Brown? Here. Regent Downs?
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 1, public comments. Is there public comments at WNC?
There is none.
Right, since there's no video feed from Great Basin or Las Vegas, I will ask for, are there any public comments on the phone? If there are, the number is 669-444-9171 and enter meeting ID 999-9889-3151 and passcode 999999. Do we have any public comments on the phone?
We have callers online for public comment.
Go ahead.
Hello, caller with the phone number ending in 8853. Please unmute by pressing *6. Please spell your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Doug Unger, D-O-U-G-U-N-G-E-R, immediate past president, UNLV chapter, Nevada Faculty Alliance, and chair of the Government Affairs Committee. Good morning, Security Committee, Chairman McMichael. I just want to say that I'm disappointed at the lack of substance in the report of Interim Director and of Southern Command Police Vasquez. I understand that he is new to the position and just getting on his feet, but I would have expected that in the wake of the December 6, 2023 mass shootings on the UNLV campus, there would be more that would address the immediate requirements of that aftermath, similar to what Director Eric James of Northern Command will report today, which I think is exactly what should be happening at UNLV: active assailant training, tabletop preparedness, response training for our administrators, outreach to the Virginia Tech Emergency Management Conference, full-scale active shooter exercises in Carson City. At least something is being done in Northern Nevada, and I just can't emphasize enough how much faculty and students in Southern Nevada are waiting for a comprehensive training and aggressive outreach to improve campus safety and security by the Southern Command Police and by the Nevada system of higher education. Thank you.
There are no additional callers online at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, the minutes. The committee will consider approval of the minutes from the February 29th, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. We will move on to item number 3, the chair's report.
Excuse me, Chair McMichael,
Oh.
Unless I missed that, did the committee vote on the approval of the minutes?
I'm sorry. Let's back that up. Yes, we must have a vote. This is for possible action. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? None? All right, so now we'll move on to item number 3, the chair's report. At this time, I would just like to recognize Arnold Vasquez, interim director from the University Police Services Southern Command, and Eric James, Chief of Police, Northern Command. And so I will, that is my only information on the chair's report, so that we can move on to item number 4. Arnold Vasquez, Internal Director of University Police Services, Southern Command, will present an update on the Southern Command related to public safety activities, including hiring and recruiting, community and special event policy, academic operations, and personnel.
Got it. Okay, I'm sorry. Again, good morning, everyone. For the record, Arnold Vasquez, Interim Director of University Police Services Southern Command. First of all, to get started, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present today, Chair Carvalho, Vice Chair Downs, and committee members. I'd like to also start by first recognizing our former Vice President and Director of University Police Services Southern Command, Adam Garcia. Adam served over 40 years in law enforcement, most recently serving Southern Command for roughly 5 years and over 22 years serving the Nevada system of higher education. On behalf of a grateful department, we wish Adam a sincere congratulations on a well-deserved retirement. Moving on, I was appointed to the Interim Director of University Police Services Southern Command on August 1st of 2024. Following Garcia's retirement. And I'd like to go ahead and start off with my first slide and then maybe address an issue on the public comment from Mr. Unger. Okay, first I'd like to start off with recruitment. In this profession, we continue to see labor shortages throughout the country and specifically in the police officer role and dispatcher positions. This has been a challenge that has been going on for several years, if not decades at this point. So we continue our efforts and we work in as much as we possibly can with attending large-scale recruiting events. And as an example, year to date, we have attended and participated in 4 large-scale recruitment events in the Las Vegas Valley. One at UNLV, CSN, Nevada State, respectively, and the Clark County Job Fair held at the Las Vegas Convention Center. We continue to also explore other recruitment avenues to include digital and social media recruitment platforms. As a result of some of those efforts for this past year, as it relates to hiring, we have hired 5 police recruits which have attended the Southern Desert Regional Police Academy, and they graduated as a part of Class 2401. In addition to that, we have hired 4 police lateral hires. We have 5 police recruits in the Southern Desert Regional Police Academy cohort 2402, which just started August 7th. Those officers actually were, first day of employment was August 1st of this year as well. In addition to that, we have 5 community service officers. These community service officers, if you're unaware, are unarmed security officers that work within our span of control. They have access to our radio communications. They have access to our officers that are in the field at each location at the different campuses. And their primary function is to provide support for the police officers in the field. We continue to build that program. It has been extremely successful. We've received a lot of positive feedback in relation to these CSO officers being on campus and engaging with the staff and faculty at the various campuses throughout the Southern Command. In addition, we have hired 3 public safety dispatchers. We still have some work to do in that area, but we are continuing with that effort. We have 1 administrative assistant that we just recently hired. We have an additional 2 that are in the pipeline, which we should be making an offer sometime this week. In addition to all of that, we have 2 student cadets that we have brought on board. Their primary focus as their assignment is to UNLV, and they are also another supplemental resource for patrol staff in the field. So year to date, the department has hired 14 officers and a total of 25 employees. We also have 2 police academy recruits slated to attend the next academy in 2025. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve for that next class. We remain committed to continuing this effort. As we know, staffing is an ongoing challenge in this profession, and we're constantly looking for other ways to cast a wider net to try and recruit officers to our profession. I'd like to talk a little bit about special events today. I think it's important that the board understands some of the issues that come up with special events and how many we actually have. This is a very, very small look at the number of events that we have hosted at our various institutions, which requires a safety element to each one of them. So that is a very, very big lift for law enforcement in our department. So for this year, we've had 4 dignitary visits. The following special events are of note, which we, as I mentioned, hosted at our campuses. In April, we had the Regional Transportation Commission and Federal Transit Administration press conference, which brought in the Secretary of Transportation. That was held at UNLV. In June, we hosted the USA Olympic basketball team men's practice. They were at the Thomas and Mack, Mendenhall, Cox Pavilion Arena. They were there for approximately 5 days practicing, which drew a lot of media attention. And also Vice President Kamala Harris visited that team, which we coordinated with the Secret Service and Las Vegas Metro to ensure that she was able to visit that site safely. In June as well, we also had the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. That was held at CSN. July, we had the Economic Summit in which President Joe Biden visited, and that was also held at CSN Cheyenne campus. In August, we recently held the White House Office of the National Cyber Director meeting, which was also held at CSN. And most recently, we had the August presidential campaign for Kamala Harris and Vice President Walz rally, which was held at UNLV. As I mentioned, I bring these to your attention because they are a significant tax on law enforcement. In many cases, we have had to work with other neighboring law enforcement agencies to get these off the ground and ensure that we provide the safety measures that are appropriate for those venues. Okay, I think I might have missed one there. Talking about some community events, one of the strategic plans that I have moving forward for our department is to really build out and focus in on community-oriented policing. One of the things that I have set out as an expectation of the staff at University Police Services Southern Command is to really become more involved with the community in engagement efforts. We continue to have a number of events, but what I'd like to see is I'd like to see that these events become more engaging rather than just attending these events. Not that that hasn't been fruitful, but what I'd like to see is I'd like to see that relationship building and fostering those community-based relationships within our staff and the community staff, faculty, and students. As I mentioned, we continue to hold these events. As you can see, there's a couple of them up on the slide there. One of them is a campus community connect event, as well as the presentation and introduction to our homeless outreach and positive engagement, or AKA HOPE team, which continues to do its important work matching those in need with the community resources and collaborating with local law enforcement and county social service partners. In addition, we do have some other fun events in the middle photograph there. This was a figure 8 police event that we attended, which figure 8 was a racing event held at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That brought out a number of first responders, so we were able to engage different side of the community there as well. And that's just a few that we have. But as I mentioned, my expectation moving forward is that we continue to dive deep into what exactly community-oriented policing is and make those relationships much stronger. As I alluded to earlier, we do have some recruits in the academy, and it has been very fruitful for us. We have had the opportunity to not only, from our standpoint, work very closely with the academy staff to better tailor our training efforts within our department, but also to look for potential candidates at these academy classes. We currently have a lieutenant from University Police Services who is the overall commander of the Southern Desert Regional Police Academy, as well as an officer that is assigned to that particular unit. As I mentioned, class 2401 graduated 17 graduates, and in class 2402, which just started in August, that includes 24 recruits, in which 5 of them are University Police Services recruits. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I was recently appointed and stepped into this role at the beginning of of August 1 to be exact, so just a little over a month. Moving forward, there's a few things that I have in mind, and I'll just kind of briefly touch on them today. First and foremost, wanting to evaluate our organizational structure. And a big part of that is boosting our recruitment efforts, as I mentioned before, focusing primarily on retention. We do have deep pools when it comes to recruitment and hiring. We have a hiring and recruitment team specifically that is a part of that. They attend all of these recruitment events. They participate in screening interviews. They review the process from A to Z, if you will, and to include backgrounds. And they are the ones that are tasked with being creative to try and see how we can cast out that wider net. But the biggest focus, too, is retention. I think that we have missed some opportunities to grow and develop some folks and offer them some opportunity within our department in the forms of advancement within their career, but also some special detail type deployment areas of our department. Based off of that, we'll continue to implement leadership development, and we're also looking to implement a mentorship program at all levels and divisions of the department. And that doesn't just mean for police officers, community service officers, that includes support staff, administrative staff, as well as dispatch staff as well. We also want to expand our advanced operational training and leadership training opportunities as well. Moving on to some data-driven resource deployment. Over the course of the year, we generally saw lower volume in the spring of calls for service following the events of December, though that activity as the year has gone on has increased. For the first half of the year, the dispatch center handled over 20,000 telephone calls with 947 cases drawn and generated over that period. That doesn't, those are the primary cases. That doesn't necessarily include all of the supplemental reports and cases that get attached to that as a part of subsequent investigations. With this data, our hope is to analyze that call volume, the event types, the crimes, and identify problem hotspots and maximize our patrol deployment. So with that in mind, we fully expect that there will be some scheduling changes and specialized deployments as we refine our policing efforts. And as I mentioned earlier, when we talk about retention, allowing this data to drive where we go and how we deploy folks, and hopefully establish some specialized areas where people can actually grow in this profession. Community engagement, as I touched on earlier, and problem solving. I think the problem solving is also a big piece of this. We want to try and identify some of the and address some of the underlying issues and causes of crime within our community and on our campuses. And the key to this is collaborating with the community and the stakeholders and other policy groups to effectively manage and implement solutions for some of the most pressing issues. I think that when we look at certain issues in policing, I've been in this profession for a good while, and if you're just going call to call, band-aiding issues, and hoping that they'll go away, they don't. So we need to dig deeper into those issues and see how we can come up with a collaborative effort to combat some of these issues. And as I mentioned, part of that is going to include a lot of the community stakeholders and policy as well. So with that in mind, before I wrap, based off public comment, I will be speaking later this afternoon as it relates to some of our efforts following the December 6 issues and the ad hoc committee, the Chancellor's ad hoc committee. But what I can go ahead and speak to at this moment is since the beginning of this semester, we have completed 4 active assailant trainings, primarily focused at UNLV. We are going to have additional trainings for each month for the remainder of the semester, but we are also expanding that calendar out to all the other institutions within Southern Command. What's different about this is that we've actually now have posted a calendar, and we are recruiting much as, if you will, for a typical class that you would find at any one of our institutions. Previously, we have actually asked people if they were interested and then responded to that interest. We're being proactive with that approach, and now we're making those available and recruiting very aggressively to get folks into those training classes. In addition, we will not take away the ability for folks to make a request for any staff, faculty, student, or department, or whatever it might be, to come up with anything outside of that calendar. So we are working toward that, and as I mentioned, we have completed 4 to date, and we're expanding that throughout the other institutions. In addition, we have completed some other specialty training for response and crowd control management. I'll speak to a little bit to that later, but all of our staff has been trained. They are continuing the advanced training piece of it, and I'm proud to say that we also have boosted our training cadre for that specific discipline, which is going to allow us to go ahead and do further advanced training and tailor it to our specific needs for our campuses. One last thing that I'd like to add, which I think is extremely important, is that we have also developed a peer support program. We're in the initial stages of that. We have 6 personnel that are trained, and they are a mix of sworn and civilian employees to help not only our officers within our department, our staff within our department, but also collaborate with community members outside of our department to help with some issues as related to critical incidents as we'd seen. With that, this concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Chair McMichael.
I also do,
Yes.
Chair.
Yes, Regent Boylan, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. First, I'd like to apologize for being late for this meeting. I was in the Business, Finance, and Facilities meeting that ran over a wee bit, and I apologize to you and the rest of the committee and everyone present. I really wanted to listen to everything that Chief Vasquez has to say. My comment is to say I met with Chief Vasquez and we had a great meeting. I learned so much from him. He downplays his importance and his experience that he has from before and the knowledge he has. It's just, I love it. I learned quite a bit, like I said, and I'd like to keep learning from this young man what he knows about policing and how he can keep everyone safe at NSHE South. Thank you, Chief. It was great meeting you, and maybe we'll talk later today when you have more to say. You're doing a great job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Regent Boylan.
Who else wanted to speak?
Regent Brown.
Or have Regent Brown, go right ahead.
Thank you so much. Regent Brown for the record. Thank you so much for the presentation. First, I want to say I had the privilege of touring Beam Hall with you before it was open to the public. And I think it's important, and we'll acknowledge this a couple times, but I think it's important to reiterate the fact that your officers and the UNLV staff did so much work to get that building ready for this semester, and I commend you. I mean, 8 months is a very short turnaround period, and I felt so much better walking through those halls, having been a student in that building and then not having access. So first and foremost, I just want to say I know that that's been a very time-consuming part of Southern Command over the last 8 months. Second of all, I love hearing about the active assailing trainings that you guys are doing. I know in previous meetings we've talked about how you guys are increasing the trainings. And I just also want to say, like, from the students' perspective, because we've heard from them, just having your presence on campus makes them feel safer. And you guys heard that, and you guys have made that a priority. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that, you know, there have been feedback, there has been active changes, and you guys are really showing up for the students and faculty in all the ways that they've asked and what you guys know to be best practices. So I think it's important just to set a foundation there. I did have a question. I saw back on, and we don't have to go back to it, but back on slide 5. These are really interesting community events. Where do you advertise these events? How can we find out about them?
Okay, well, first I'd like to say thank you for acknowledging the work that we've done getting UNLV back to where it needs to be, as well as Beam Hall. I know that means a lot for our staff to hear that people are recognizing that, and we have received a lot of positive feedback as it relates to that. And I just want to highlight that it's not just a police effort. We really are part of that community, and a big piece of it had to do with a lot of other departments on the UNLV campus as well. They got Beam Hall back up and running, and essentially has allowed us to take back our university. As it relates to the publications or how we market these different events, there's a number of different ways. One of them is through social media. We currently have a vacancy with our publications writer, and I'm actually converting that position to a community engagement coordinator position. I feel that that's going to be much more effective in terms of leveraging all of these different digital marketing platforms, but we do market them through social media. That will hopefully continue to expand. What we also try to do is we also publicize it on the website. Now, that's not always easily as accessible to some folks. But we want to try and look into that piece as well to see how we can get that word out through the website. In some cases, we also publicize this with the different institutions, specifically working with the media relations and and public relations department to try and get that information out to as many staff, faculty, and students as possible. I know that that's something that we can continue to look into and do a better job at. So that'll be one of the first assignments that the new community engagement coordinator will be tasked with, is to see how many people we can reach.
I'll say the biggest enterprise businesses with all the amounts of money, they say the exact same thing. They always need to do more and have a better marketing strategy. So I would say you guys, with the limited staff, and I was writing down notes, like, you guys have an employment gap from your officers to your administration, and that is something to be acknowledged. So working with the skeleton, infrastructure is hard. So it's good to see about the social media outreach. Obviously, that's where we have to be where people are. I remember being a student, and we worked with the police force on a couple of events that I wanted to do. You know me, I'm always trying to be a little activist, so I needed the police on my side. I would say, even working with student government directly and having them be a amplifier could be a way to do this, because I know students really want to be engaged, and if they feel your presence is an added benefit, then they'll be willing to amplify your events as well.
Thank you.
I would love to hear a little bit more about the HOPE program, the Homeless Outreach and Proactive Engagement. Mm-hmm. I'm interested just to hear, like, what has been the response, what's the ROI of this, and how can we be helpful?
Sure, thank you for that. So yes, the HOPE team actually is comprised right now of a lieutenant who oversees it, as well as a sergeant. It's Lieutenant Ryan Willman and Sergeant Michael Lamb. My hope is that with some of these recruits that we have in the academy and some folks getting out of training, that I can actually allocate at least another body to that unit. So far, what they've been tasked with, it really is to just kind of get a handle, if you will, and get an assessment of some of the problems and essentially the population in which we're dealing with as it relates to homeless that bleeds onto our campuses. So what they've been out doing is they've created, we're going to call them field contacts, and they're essentially, it's more of like a field interview, if you will. It's not necessarily an enforcement contact. It's more of a field interview to determine who these folks are, kind of what their story is, what their backstory is. In many cases, what we've learned is that some of them aren't even necessarily from the Las Vegas Valley. They've ended up here, and I think that there's opportunities for us to assist them in finding either a place within Las Vegas that's going to be beneficial for them, but also if they're looking to move on to some other location, maybe back home. That was always very effective in my former agency, and I think that that's something that we can develop here within our department. What they've done too, I don't have any statistics on it, but what they've also done is they've actually transported and got a lot of people to some of our county facilities that offer resources as it relates to, drug and alcohol abuse, things like that. Also, veteran affairs. Some folks are impacted by some of those issues, and so we've been able to collaborate with some of those other outside entities that are able to actually get some folks into the correct treatment that they might need to help them get back on their feet, or at a minimum so we can have a better working relationship with them.
And just for clarification, this is specifically with the unhoused population that is on campus, on the 3 different campuses in Southern Nevada?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. One thing that I want to add to that, though, is it's although they have a focus in that particular discipline or that particular piece, I want, as I mentioned, with a theme with all of this, is it's not just it's not tightly focused. I want this team to also look at other issues and concerns and ways that they can be effective in assisting people in the community. We can't just arrest our way out of things, and so that's the goal of this particular unit.
Does this, and I'm sorry, last question on this one. Do you work with the Metropolitan Police on, is this like a larger program that this is just the university slice?
So our HOPE team is actually just a university slice, but we actually collaborate and work with the other units within Las Vegas Metro, North Las Vegas Police Department, as well as Henderson Police Department with their respective units. So it actually works tenfold for us because they come and assist us. They provide us with some different resources and approaches and perspectives on the issues. But we also assist them. So it's a collaborative effort, and my hope is to build out this team so we can bring more to the table.
Well, I hope this program and this task force gets to grow, and I'd love to continue to hear more about it and see how we can help with resources and just amplifying.
Absolutely. Thank you, Regent Brown.
Do we have any additional questions?
Yes, sir.
Regent Brooks. Oh, I'm sorry, Regent Boylan.
Yeah, we're both bald. It's fine. No worries. Yeah. Chair, thank you for this. I don't make mistakes, but I made a mistake earlier, and I said I was at the Business Finance Committee meeting. It was the Audit Compliance and Title IX meeting. And I know Chair Downs is sitting there thinking, whoa, I haven't had that meeting, and Boylan is in the future already. So I apologize for that. That's still to come. And again, I'm going to thank Chief Vasquez for everything they're doing. And I'd really, really like to see their department grow. I've had talks with the Chancellor and with the chair with Chief Vasquez about the way we are set up and who reports to who, and we can talk about that later. But thank you, Chief. Really appreciate it. Everything you and your people are doing. Thanks for helping me or letting me change my wee little boo-boo, Chair McMichaels. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none. I wish to thank Chief Vasquez for his report. And now we'll move on to item number 5, NSHE Northern Command. Eric James, Chief of Police, Northern Command, will present an update on the Northern Command's activities through July 31st, 2024. Chief James will also provide information on Northern Command's department initiatives, updates, partnerships, and outreach activities, as well as organizational reliance and internal department highlights. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Eric James, for the record, Chief of Police of the University Police Department, Northern Command. First, I just want to take a second to thank Chief Vasquez. We've had some really great conversations over the past few weeks, and I greatly appreciate his communicative style and picking up the phone and giving me a call when he's got questions. So I really do appreciate that. Okay. Let's make sure. Which button am I pushing? There we go. So, 2024, so this is for our last 6 months, January 1st through June 30th. We had 63 arrests. Of those arrests, almost exclusively, those are non-students. So when we talk about who we're arresting, almost the overwhelming majority, 80%, are non-students. Our uses of force were 6, and so we had about approximately 12,584 of those contacts. We had 99.9% ended without use of force. And so I'd like to think the officers are going out there using their verbal judo, using their skills to get compliance with individuals when they need to. Moving on, total citizen contacts, 12,590. We had 2,179 automated dispatch incidents. That's coming from our regional dispatch to us. And then we had 2,749.3 hours foot patrol, which when I initially looked at that, I was struggling with it because I didn't quite, Tanya was explaining it to me, and I said, well, it doesn't make any sense. She goes, Chief, you got to divide it by 24 because it's hours. And so what does that mean? That means that's 114 days that we spent on foot at our Northern Nevada institutions, which is a lot of spending on foot for 6 months. So some of our campus partnerships. We continue to work on our heat log map. Madison's doing a great job with that, with environmental health and science. We're hoping to debut it here in a couple of weeks. Just some little bugs we got to work out with it. I attended leadership training with UNR Human Resources. Tim McFarland asked me to come present a couple times. More than happy to help Tim out. We had participants for the Northern Nevada Diversity Summit. We did a partnership for virtual reality with the Orvis School of Nursing. Dr. Hines and her crew wanted to give this a shot, and so we set up our virtual reality environment. And what we did was no class. We put them into the virtual reality. We had them go through and do some de-escalation work. Then we took them out of it. We gave them a class. They went back in, and to see the learning, the pre and the post was absolutely amazing. And so the students were able to get as real as possible de-escalation techniques and then scenarios that they never would have been able to do unless they're in the emergency room. So another great program. Sergeant Stewart's doing great work with the VR program. Really, really happy with that. You and our engineering student, we had a capstone UPD community specialist, Madison. She was the advisor for the UR Next Route Safety app, and that group won the Impact Award out of 100 groups. And so it was an app to kind of help route people through in and around the university. It was kind of nice to watch them as they worked out all these problems with their app, and then to get the award out of 100 groups was phenomenal. We continue to work with our social work internship. She just started on Monday. I got a debrief from one of our community service officers yesterday, and he said and I quote, "She's really cool," is what he said. So I was happy to hear that she's really cool. Community outreach internship. Madison, our community outreach specialist, she brings in all these people to help because we go to every single incoming freshman orientation and present as our department. So everyone knows we have a police department. And so Macy was actually selected as part of that, 1 out of 100 to represent UNR's internship opportunities at the EDON fundraiser. You can see her up there, very happy. She got to print out that really big page all about it. And then she actually wrote 2 articles for the Nevada Today about her experience with our department. And they were eye-opening at best, at least I would say, because her view of the police department completely changed working with the police department. It just is amazing to see how people go, "Wow, I didn't know you guys did that," or "Well, you're human beings just like the rest of us." And so to get people in the door and hear that is fabulous. Department updates, we did continue to do our joining forces. So we had 6 events. We handed out 57 citations, 15 warnings. Those campaigns were specifically for speed, pedestrian safety, and seatbelt enforcement. Throughout Northern Nevada, all of our institutions, we did 9 commencement ceremonies. We finally completed. President Delpy, we got it, we're good. The WNC lock project, which we did throughout all of WNC with one of our grants, that's finally got completed. And then we had a successful completion of the Department of Emergency Management grant audit for our virtual reality system. That went absolutely phenomenal. I got to thank Haneen, our grant writer, for that, and along with Lieutenant Nero for really helping out because they said it was one of the easiest audits they've ever done. So I was very happy to hear that. The grant for TMCC locks, working with Mike Pearl and his team and President Helgerson, estimated cost is going to be somewhere between $400,000 to $500,000. We have some grants that we wrote, and so a lot of those grants are going to cover a lot of that cost. And working with Mike, he's been absolutely fabulous of finding that money to go above and beyond to make sure that TMCC can get those external perimeter security locks as well. We continue to work with the Nevada chiefs and sheriffs. Myself and the deputy chief will be going down in October where we have our normal FBI NA meeting where we get a chance to network and talk. And the reason for us that's important is because we, as you all know, have institutions throughout Nevada in different communities, different jurisdictions. And so this is a great way for us to sort of network and ask, hey, when our institution for, say, Great Basin College down in Tonopah needs some help or down in Pahrump, would you be willing to go help out? We'll do all the paperwork, but would you be there for them? Absolutely. So it's a great way to network that. We continue to use our Power Engage DMS. This is a going out, a call for service happens, they send the individual a text message, kind of help us out. Our response rate's 39.6%, so we'll call it 40. The company says anything over 31 is actually really good. So we're ahead of that. And of that, our citizen positivity interaction is 94.4%. So we always hear people will say things about working with the police department or what they heard, but these calls are going to the actual people who had a call for service for them. We assisted them, and we're getting a 94.4% positivity rate. Our department was recognized by the Associate Students of WNC for the Service Award. So really, we appreciated that. Jeannie Preston up in our records department, she helped compile the annual child inventory information. And if you've ever tried herding cats before, you should try to herd and find 182 programs on campus to get everyone to respond to an email. And she did it. She stayed on top of it with a little bit of help here and there because it was very challenging. And so we are now up to compliance with the annual child inventory information. There we go. Our HEAT team continues to put up some fantastic numbers. You can kind of see on that left-hand side the victims referrals, victims provided services, adult victims recovered. Kind of want to hit the highlights, though. We had 2 team members who were awarded scholarships to attend training in Dallas, and then 4 team members were selected as subject matter experts and actually taught classes in human trafficking. We got 2 life convictions and 1 20 to 40-year conviction. And talking about convictions in today's world can be very challenging. This team had to put together a lot of evidence, get the prosecutor to go with, and then to get those convictions. Those are wins for us. We were really, really happy with those. And you can also see the arrested for felonies, misdemeanor citations, other arrests, illegal drugs off the street, and then guns taken off the street as well. So it's not just about the human exploitation. It's also about guns and drugs because those things kind of go hand in hand. Some of our outreach initiatives, and Regent Brown, I'm going to hit you up now because you're going to ask me this, so I'm going to tell you now. Here's the deal. When we go out in the community, that's done daily, right? It's not done in one day. It's done daily. These officers, these community service officers, the administrative staff, they go out there every single day and are in the community. And while these are great and they're phenomenal and I'm happy with them, being out there in the community does 10,000 times more than just a single event. So I'm going to beat you to the punch there, okay, because I knew it was coming. We provided over the last 6 months 48 active shooter / personal safety classes for our Northern Nevada institutions. I got to give a big shout out, number one, to all the presidents in Northern Nevada. President Helgersom, she was very, made sure that we had all of our active shooter training in with their employee returning and getting in there and getting those presentations done. And also, Kyle Delpy, I have to give him a big shout out because he got all 200 of his faculty and staff in an auditorium to get a workplace violence active shooter presentation. So kudos to him for doing that. Community classes, so this is us going out into the community. BLM, Snap-on Manufacturing down here in Carson City, Nevada State Girls, and then the Institute of Real Estate Management. I presented to them a few weeks back because they have problem finding other people to do it, and it's on our website, and people call us all the time. I've got 3 more next week, and I think Officer Thompson has 2 more next week, and so we continue to teach these things weekly. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback, and we're getting a lot of people contacting us to get that done. Our UNR employee, Verla, she credits the workplace violence class for saving her life. There was an active shooter situation back in March in Sparks where the guy shot at a Sparks police officer and then went into one house, went into another house, went into another house. That third house was the house Verla was in. She was in her knitting room. She heard the window break. She said, I knew what to do because I attended the class. She ran to the bathroom. She shut the door. She barricaded it. I don't know about you all, but if you ever tried to get down between the commode and your wall, there's not much room. She got down between the commode and the wall, called 911, and was escorted out via a drone to show her the safe route to get out. She credits it. I got the video of it if you want to take a look. It's really harrowing, but to hear that what we did for someone paid off just is worth all the money in the world, quite honestly. The 2024 Symposium of Community Policing at the Regional Partners, we participated in that again. Our 3rd annual Bohatch Day, one of our elementary schools up in Washoe County was named after John Bohatch, who was murdered with the Reno Police Department years ago. And so we participate with that. We have our Dogs, Donuts, and Donate Life. Everyone loves dogs. This year, we won the Most Creative Outreach Award. And I would like to thank Madison for that because I have no idea how to use social media. But she does, and she's really, really good at it. And so we won that award. And then we were over at Calvary Chapel and Little Hands Learning Center with first responders, just to let the kids meet first responders, fire trucks, police officers, motorcycles, and just let them know we're not here to hurt them. We're here to help them. All right, so the organizational resiliency highlights. This is Dr. Amanda Wins and her team. They attended the Nevada Preparedness Summit down in Las Vegas. Participated in a mass casualty incident full-scale exercise, the Inter-Hospital Coordinating Committee and Partnerships, conducted spring tabletop exercises for senior leadership focused on communication blackout following an earthquake for UNR, WMC, DRI, and GBC. Evaluated active assailant full-scale exercise in Elko in conjunction with the GBC nursing program. Conducted a workshop for Elko County and the GBC to establish best practices for family reunification plans and family assistance centers community-wide as part of an ongoing 2025 collaboration. And if you've ever been to a large-scale event, you have to reunify families. It is incredibly stressful. the fact that they're getting in there to conduct workshops for Elko County is amazing. Attended the rural Nevada Trauma Symposium in Elko, conducted the interprofessional care tabletop exercise with like 20 community partners. That again was also with UNR students and the School of Public Health at the Orvis School of Nursing. Assisted EHS with annual fire drills, and I know that seems like, I don't know why it's up there. Fire drills are a big deal, and so when those fire drills happen, we get known as well, because in the past, throughout the nation, we have had people do fire drills or pull the fire alarm for the people to come outside to commit a mass shooting, and so we're there for all those fire alarms as well. She also worked with the emergency response for all agencies on the UNR main campus by correcting unique building addresses. Dispatch has all these addresses, but through time, some of those addresses aren't quite accurate to the exact location to the building. People move buildings and dispatch isn't told. So we got that all worked out. And so now anytime anyone calls, they know exactly what room, what building, and who to dispatch. Amanda provided a keynote speaker at the Virginia Tech Annual Emergency Summit Conference, and then participated in a 2-day regional chemical exercise with Northern Nevada Public Health Interhospital Coordinating Committee and the community partners. Her team stays very busy. Organizational resiliency highlights continue. We conducted crisis communication and coordination tabletop, exercise of marketing communication at the University of Nevada, Reno. Conducted training for senior leadership at the Desert Research Institute about navigating emergency response and decision-making during a crisis. Participated in the Great Reno Balloon Race, which is going to be happening this weekend. The emergency tabletop exercise with Washoe County. Assisted in the development of the crisis communication plan for WNC. Evaluated Carson City's school district's active shooter full-scale exercise at Carson High. The alpha trauma kits for UNR and WNC, as you can see right up there, those kits are 50 individual kits. The whole kit weighs about 100 pounds. It's 50 kits that when we have large-scale events, like, say, the board meeting, one of these kits is going to be present in case. And so it can cover burns, it can cover shootings, it can cover stabbings. Each kit is individualized. And so we continue to work to get funding to get those for every single campus. Every campus has some type of alpha trauma kits. It's just the amount. And then going to be assuming responsibility for emergency management at TMCC. That started on July 1, so I'm very happy about that as well. So now all Northern Nevada institutions are under the same blanket. So some of our internal department highlights. New member city Officer Green worked with our department, and then he left us to go to Carson City Sheriff, and then he came back. And the sheriff was not happy about that at all. So he came back returning with us, very happy to have Jeremiah back. We had 2 officers from the Northern Nevada Law Enforcement Academy graduate. One is currently in the academy. Officer Mendieta joined the regional SWAT team with Washoe County. He tested and he was successful. He's on the team now. Our finance person, Kathy Clark-McDonald, was selected as the Employee of the Month for UNR. And the ability for her to sit down with President Sandoval and let him know the things that she knows was a very unique opportunity, she told me. And so Matt Williams finally completed his bachelor's degree. Matt Williams is one of Dr. Wynn's colleagues. And then Officer Thompson received a life-saving award that I presented him with. Officer Thompson was driving home. He was going home, and he saw a Jeep turn over on North McCarran Street, and the individual's head was pinned underneath this old Jeep. And he and 2 other people lifted this Jeep off of this guy. Had they not done that, that man absolutely would have died, and he survived. And then lastly is our community service officers, Davila and Diaz, attended bike school. Maddie and Elva loved the bike school. They had so much fun, but it was really hot, they said. And so I believe I will open it up to questions. Seeing none. Oh, just kidding.
Not so fast, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Regent Borland.
Thank you. I still haven't personally met Chief James, and I've enjoyed this presentation. I keep threatening I'll go up north and meet him one of these days. Thanks for all the stuff you've done, Chief, all the different things. But I picked 3 out that I really like. And I like the way you finished off with the dudes. So I think all your dudes and dudettes are doing great up there. But your HEAT program, human trafficking, really has my interest, and how it leads into international human trafficking organizations. So it's good to be at the base level of something that's much, much bigger and wider. The number two thing you talked about, the active shooter training saved one life. The young lady saved her life. That's awesome. That's impressive. One life. And I'm sure there must be more that we don't know about, have been able to save themselves and others. So that's impressive. And I like these statistics and facts that you give us. Even one life. Wow, that's great. The third thing I had was your alpha trauma kits. Those are unbelievable. They are not only heavy, but they work really good in just about every situation in any emergency. I've seen them be put into use, and I think that's a great thing you have. I'd love to help you, and I'm sure the rest of the board would also, to try and get us some money, get some grants, get something from somewhere, so you could have more of those and anything else you need up there. But all in all, I also have to say that I will show up one of these days and take you up on your offer that you haven't made me yet, but that's okay. But I will come by and visit with you because I'm really impressed with both the Northern and Southern commands and both chiefs. So thank you, Chief, and thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, Chief James, for your report. Are
Chair,
there any other questions?
Yeah, Chair, Regent Brown.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Regent Brown, for the record, and thank you for beating me to the chase. But I do want to take a moment, similar to the last securities meeting and what I also had to say about Southern Command, like the presence of the police is so important. And I really just want to reiterate, like, the fact that you understand that and the fact that you know being in the community and being a presence for good and making friends with the community and showing up, it's so important. And it's not something that I would see a lot as a student. And so I'm so happy we've come a long way. And I love that, I think it was your intern that got to write those articles. That is something we have to tell our own story. If we leave it up to other people, they tell the story they want to tell. But with all the good that's happening, I hope that more articles, more op-eds get out there, more times to showcase what's happening on these campuses because it's so important. And I really like your emphasis of a daily presence and not just building up to an event. I think it's really impactful. I did have a question about the grants. I think grants are kind of like an untapped resource for our whole state. And arguably, I think we're 49th in the nation in federal funding with grants because we just don't go after them. I don't think it's because we're not approved for them. What is the process here? Like, who writes it and who manages it? Because I also am very aware, having been the recipient of grants, managing it is such a hurdle that is something that is often not thought of. Is that Northern Command the institution, or are these the institutions that are going after grants?
So thank you for the question. So what happens is Haneen writes our grants, we submit them, we hear back that we were successful or not. Then from that point, it goes into the Office of Sponsored Projects, and this is for all of Northern Nevada. And then they help us manage that. Anything that we have to do for statistics or we have to provide updates, we take care of everything ourselves. They just assist us kind of getting the grant in the door, account number set up, how we bill it, who we bill it through, that type of thing. So we handle everything internally ourselves.
I mean, that's really impressive. Is there a way that we, and I don't know if this is just me speaking off the cuff, I don't think it has anything to do with the board, but is there a way that we can help build out a pipeline where maybe there's more grants we can get as a state, as each institution working with the different commands to make sure that we're paying for these trainings, paying for these packets? I know finding the grants is often the biggest challenge. I'm just curious how we can work to grow this footprint, because you guys can only handle so much. At some point, you'll have a capacity.
True. My answer to that is I don't know. Everyone's kind of, a lot of, whether we're fighting for this grant or the Reno Police or Washoe County, everyone's fighting for the same money a lot of times. So we just have to be better grant writers to get that money. As far as moving forward, to find the grants is challenging. However, Haneen and then her counterpart, Marisol as well, they know where to go look, and they're very good at finding those grants. We have 4 in the works right now. We're getting ready to submit. I have an email sitting in my inbox saying, here's what we want to apply for. What do you think? And a lot of it is community-based, community-focused, because we can write almost anything to community-based and focused. And so for us, it's just really finding very unique areas, but then also saying, we need something else with X, Y, or Z. Let's find some grants. And she's very good at finding them. As far as like a pipeline for the stat, that is, I'll stay in my lane for that one. I don't know anything about that one.
Yeah, I don't want to cross boundaries either. I just think, you know, when we talk about it being a system so much, and then I constantly find places where it's like, well, as a system, what can we do to actually improve this? And so, not that this is, you know, not that it's broken, right? Clearly, you're getting grants, it's working. I just would be curious. I don't know if there's a liaison at NSHE that we could tap into, but I'm just going to add that to my notes to see if there's some way that as a system we can be more helpful. And then I was going, as you were going through your different highlights, I don't know which.
Excuse me, Regent Brown. We're already gone over our allotted time, so if you could wrap that up, we really need to move on to cybersecurity.
Sure, I will. When I was going through all your highlights, I don't know which event it was, but I was actually in Elko when they were preparing for it with all the dummies. I got to help paint some of the, and I've already volunteered to be a volunteer next year, so good. Keep me in mind.
Good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief James. And we will move on to NSHE Cybersecurity. Dr. Annie Makovitz, Chief Information Officer, and Thomas Tubert, Chief Information Security Officer, System Commuting Services, will present an update on IT infrastructure projects and cybersecurity matters. Your mic.
Push. There we go. So thank you very much. For the record, my name is Thomas Dauber, Chief Information Security Officer, and I would like to give you a few updates from our previous meeting on February 8th, actually. So the first one was Grammarly. And I'm sure Regent Brown will smile. Yes, good. So we finally have, thanks to UNLV, a contract and a license for the professional, for the enterprise license for Grammarly. And that can be used by all of the campuses that are interested in purchasing those. And you may remember Grammarly is using our input in the free version to better their product. And we can't really have that with legal, medical data, and you name it. So no PII will be uploaded with the enterprise version, and the local IT departments will actually handle the licenses and the purchasing of that. I also mentioned the changes to the login process for the Regents, and I want to give you an update on that. Regent Perkins is currently working with SCS staff to make sure that the process is working, and the plan is to have everyone converted by January of 2025. And the big advantage will be that you will be able to use Eduroam on every campus or any institution in the whole country or the world that is a member of Eduroam. So your device will automatically connect with your username and password. And you will also be able to participate in our cybersecurity awareness training. And I know you were really looking forward to that, right? Right. Okay. The third item is the implementation of changes to user verification. And we had a few incidences in the casinos where somebody was claiming to be someone that they weren't, and we all know the outcome of that. So based on that, we changed our ways of how we identify people. And so one of the things we don't do anymore, we will not act up on voicemails. So we will always call someone back, and I want to give you a reason for that. And I have a few sound files here. If we could play the first one, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Heather Brown. I hope someone gets my message. My luggage and money was stolen, and I am stuck in Paris. I need some money to get a ticket to come back home. Please respond to this message, and I will give you the account number of the hotel where you can wire the money to. My phone number is 702-867-5309. Please help. This is a horrible situation. Please note, this message was created by generative AI and serves as an example how easy it is to clone someone's voice and make them say whatever you want. I am not in Paris and my luggage and money was not stolen. But thank you for your concern.
All right, I know you really wanted to be in Paris, but I did offer to go. Maybe next time. And we have one more sound file, please.
Hey, Brian, this is Anne. I am calling you from Jimmy's phone since my battery died. The Chancellor needs 3 gift cards that she wants to award to the students. I can't leave this meeting, so can you get me 3 Home Depot cards with $100 each? This is urgent and I really appreciate it. I pay you back as soon as I see you. Oh, and leave the card numbers on Jimmy's voicemail since I don't have my phone. His number is 702-123-4567. Again, this is Anne and this is urgent. Thank you.
So obviously these were messages that I created, and I want to thank you for participation, but I can't really thank you for your participation because you didn't. So it was very easy for me to do, and I just want to give you a rundown of how I actually did this. So I browsed our website and found the archives, and then held my phone against my laptop to record each one of your voices for 30 seconds. Then I emailed that file to myself and uploaded it to the software that I was using, which was free. And then it took me 5 minutes to type out something and made your voice say whatever you just heard. And then I downloaded the file and here we are. So it would be very easy to use the same sound file and put it on a voice recorder on somebody's phone. So we want to be very, very mindful of this. And I have seen reports where the same thing can be done with Zoom meetings, for example, where somebody else's face could be used instead of my own, for example. So maybe next time I have an example of that. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to use your voices here. And by the way, these are real examples that I experienced myself when I was still working on a campus. There was every year there was at least 1 or 2 people right before Christmas that pulled out their credit card and purchased gift cards, for example, right? Yeah, okay, so much for that. So we will be very mindful, and if the help desk takes a little longer to reset your password, they really want to make sure you are who you are, so please be patient in that process. Okay, we also talked about tabletop exercises, and we actually performed one on April 10th of this year. We hired Campus Guard, a third-party company we had worked with before. And they had a few comments after after our exercise, and I want to quote some of those here. Participation, open communication, and exchange of ideas was great. Effective relationships and communications among on-campus teams seem to exist on the campuses. All the campuses engage in regular awareness training, which is great, of course, and there is generally a good body of campus emergency procedures. They also had some other observations and recommendations. We should standardize the criteria for the campuses to notify SCS of suspected incidents, develop a standard method of communicating with SCS, ensure this method is not dependent on one individual only, and it is bidirectional. Ensure campus communication plans are current and identify backups of who should notify people, who should be notified, and who will coordinate everything. And then also ensure that the communication plans include engaging external resources through the communications office. Ensure the system and campus IRPs, which is the incident response plan, include coordinating with risk management for engaging the insurance carrier. The reason why they're saying this is because no campus by itself should contact the insurance company. Everything needs to go through risk management. And then also review the processes for engaging law enforcement and state and federal agencies. Consider methods to coordinate this communication across the system. So I think we actually are pretty good on the last point, because I also want to thank Chief James. Is he still here? Yeah, because we just recently had a case where a person twice tried to imitate an instructor on campus, and luckily the second time around, we received a phone number and 2 emails. So I passed this information on to Chief James, and now one of his officers is working with the FBI. So maybe next time I have an update on that. All right. So overall, the tabletop was very well received, but we had 42 participants, but 4 hours can be a very long time, and there's something like death by tabletop, so you kind of have to be more mindful. And in the future, we will move forward with mini tabletop exercises that are 2 hours, and we will use a very specific topic, and that could be a malware outbreak, for example. So all the help desk folks and Campus Guard will work on this malware outbreak. Or another one that we have never done is IT leadership from every campus and the PIO offices. So in case we ever have something, do we even know whom to call and how to communicate? So those are just some ideas. I also want to point out that we have created a NSHE-wide incident response plan that's being now vetted by the Security Council. And this plan can be customized for every campus. And I do want to thank the Risk Management Office for doing that. And of course, my office was involved as well. I'm also happy to report that we have a privacy officer on board now. And I would like to welcome Alex Tolliday-Wright, who came to us from internal audit. So his audit experience already paid off because he did the IT audit with our new external auditor, all by himself pretty much. And once we have the results of the audit, I will share those as well, of course. Another big project for the privacy officer will be an investigation of what we are doing with our student data. So what I'm envisioning is we have a student apply for admission at an institution. That institution is collecting certain data from that student. Where do they store this data? Where does it go? It goes into PeopleSoft. We have control over PeopleSoft, but we don't know what the institutions are doing with third parties. And then also once the student graduates, which data can we delete? Which ones do we have to keep? So this is all a little bit of a gray box right now, and I would like to shine some light on that. And of course, we want to stay on top of all new data privacy laws that are coming towards us. Luckily, the attitude has changed that we are not as freely sharing our information anymore. So the European Union is far ahead of us when it comes to that, but we are getting there. All right, so and the next topic is an email campaign that I do want to bring up. And I think it was 2 Board of Regents meetings ago where we received a phone call, or several phone calls from the Regents saying, hey, my inbox is flooded, I can't do anything, what shall we do? Well, we investigated this and realized that this is actually an email campaign. These were not individuals that were sending emails. And I do have a few statistics for you that might be interesting. So in total, we received 46,980 emails in support of a specific agenda item. Most email addresses looked like they were private accounts, and some came from corporations, schools, or businesses. And then we tracked the majority of the senders to New York, but also some to Los Angeles, a few in Las Vegas, but also the United Kingdom, Germany, and Australia. So when I saw that, I thought, well, why would these people be interested in modifying the Board of Regents handbook, right? So that was a giveaway right there. And then all emails had the exact same header and body verbiage. So try to coordinate 46,900 individuals to send the same email with the same header and the same body. It's probably not possible, and then over different time frames. All emails were sent within a specific time frame, which in itself is questionable because of the different time zones all these accounts were. Every email sender addressed the exact same 19 recipients, and we also found many emails that were actually sent at the same time from 2 different physical locations, which is also not possible. And then the campaign stopped immediately after the specific agenda item was concluded. I ran the text through an AI testing tool, and that tool claimed that the text was generated 100% by AI, which in itself doesn't mean much these days because a lot of people use AI to generate something, right? But I thought it's important to know. And then I recognized some of the names of these accounts as I looked through them, and I contacted the owners and asked them if they actually sent the email. And one was a former police chief, and he did not send that email, even though it came from his account, supposedly. And a former coworker of mine also did not send the email, and she said, well, that Hotmail account I haven't used in years. So, and then none of the corporate accounts that I questioned or emailed actually responded. So I found some of the email addresses, I found the corporations, I found a picture of that person and the email, and asked them, hey, did you guys really send this email, yes or no? And nobody replied to me, which was kind of interesting, I thought. So the point that I want to make is this is not really a cybersecurity issue, if you will, but it floods recipients' emails, renders them useless. And in a way, it could skew public opinion. And that's why I want to point this out, because not everything is the way it seems, and we need to be aware of that, I think. So we had a discussion afterwards, and if this happens again, then we will be notified by Board of Regents staff immediately, and then we will also have the authority to move these emails into a different location so that the email the inbox can be still used. Okay, so I wanted to bring that up. All right, 2 more points. October is right around the corner. October is Cybersecurity Month, as you know, and we have 3 speakers lined up again. And I will just let you know what the topics are. So the first one will be artificial intelligence in higher education. The next one is cryptocurrency in higher ed. And of course, security is always the last thing we think about. It's only important when something happens. But with AI, we want to get in front of this. And we also have a presentation on security in AI. And I'm working with the Public Information Office, the power of one this time. And I want to thank Elizabeth Callahan for helping us. And she will actually send out emails to the campuses. So hopefully we will have more participation. And this is open to all full-time, part-time staff and all students. And we will also record it and post the links on the website so they can be viewed afterwards in case someone is in class. So please watch out for those emails. And then my last topic is CrowdStrike. I do want to spend a minute on that. We all heard about that, right? July 19th, about 8.5 million devices were affected by that. I attended a meeting last week in Reno, and they also were in Vegas. And CrowdStrike explained to us what happened. Of course, they took responsibility for that. But I do want to point out that none of the NSHE institutions used CrowdStrike, so we were not directly affected by that. But third-party companies were affected, and we did feel that. But I also want to say that did CrowdStrike do something wrong? Yes, they admit to this. Yes, they are doing better in the future, hopefully. But this could happen to any vendor. And I remember days when I was a PC tech and Microsoft sent an update out and suddenly all the machines blue screened and we had to fix it afterwards. So I would not put the blame squarely on CrowdStrike. Yeah, but it could happen to anyone in the supply chain. Right? I think that's all I have. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is a meeting with the State Council on a AI policy for the state, and I thought that would be of interest to us, so I will attend that, and whatever I can learn, I will bring back. So with that, are there any questions?
Chair Regent Brown.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm glad that you brought up CrowdStrike because I do think it's important to reiterate that it is literally just the interconnectivity of the world now. And so one glitch can have a whole domino effect. And I think that just underscores how important your department is because of that. Right? So I'm just glad that you brought it up because it just reiterates. Couple things. So Grammarly, so excited. So excited. Love this. Good to know about the change in the login process. That's a benefit, a value add when we travel, and so that's amazing. I did have a question because you mentioned, I think maybe 2 trainings, cybersecurity awareness training and then security and AI. Are those 2 separate trainings or are they interconnected?
No, the training I mentioned was the regular cybersecurity awareness training. So for system administration and SCS, we are pushing out this training on a monthly basis. Some of the institutions do the same thing. Some do it once a year. I personally would like to see once a month because it's 5 minutes and you're constantly learning something new or you're being aware of things. And right now, you, the Regents, don't have the ability to participate in that. But once your login process has changed, you are on our domain technically, and then we can also push it out to you. And we, of course, also keep track of who is doing it and who's not. Yeah. And then the other ones were the presentations, the 3 presentations for October Cybersecurity Month.
Okay, so that's just going to happen in October. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think we talked about this 6 months ago, but I think that these should be mandatory. And I don't know, again, similar to what I was talking with the Northern Command with the grants, this is beyond my scope, but this feels like such a value add for our institutions and in our system. And so maybe I'll also reach out to the correct person at NSHE just to see how we can work with the institutions. I understand that we're asking a lot from all of our professors, staff, faculty, everybody, but 5 minutes to keep us compliant and safe, and I think that's not a lot of lift, and it could have residuals that are really effective. I wanted to thank you and your team for the campaign blocking and like figuring that piece out for us, because it is important that we hear from constituents, but when we've identified that 46,900 non-constituents are trying to reach out to us, it's nice to be able to differentiate those two, and so we can. So I wanted to acknowledge, because you did that for us a couple times this year. So
yes.
Really, really appreciate you doing the homework and taking a deep dive in this. It matters to us, so we can actually filter through and get the right stuff. And I'll just say, on a personal note, like, you are just giving me reason number 494 not to check my voicemail, because they're probably all AI generated anyways. So.
Well, Thomas Dauber, for the record, I think you should check your voicemail, but you should be mindful of how you react to it. That's all. I'm just terrible at it personally, so. Yeah. Anyways, I really appreciated it. It's always nice to have the demonstration, and I do think I'm excited to get the cybersecurity awareness training, and I hope we can make that a more permanent or more mandatory. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. I don't see any other questions, so I would like to move on to new business. Item 7, is there any new business? Hearing none, we will move on to item 8, public comments. Do we have any public comments at WNC?
There's no public comment here.
Any phone comments?
There are no callers in the queue.
All right. Well, thank you very much. This concludes the Security Committee meeting. Thank you.